Welcome back to ETV News and Sport. While South African businesses, big and small, have been shattered by the ongoing looting and destruction. Shopping centres and malls have been destroyed, leaving many businesses and building owners with massive damage and losses. This will of course lead to businesses and property owners seeking relief from their insurance providers to rebuild. But what happens if those claims are rejected? What are business owners' rights? Well, to provide some insight, we chat to Jean-Paul Rudd, a partner and attorney at Adams & Adams. Jean, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's actually pretty scary to think that there is a possibility that as a business, I may not be able to actually put in my claim for some reason or the other. Let's rewind for a moment. What type of insurances are there for businesses, big and small, perhaps?
Good evening, Ayanda. Thanks for having me on your show. Yes, one must remember that an insurance policy is a contract just like any other contract, so it needs to comply with certain requirements in order to be valid and enforceable. Now, most businesses would have business insurance in place to provide for certain perils, whether it is people being injured at the business, for stock being damaged, premises being damaged, for data being stolen. So there's a whole variety of business coverage available to the various businesses in South Africa.
In this instance, what type of insurance should my company, maybe I'm even a small business, what type of insurance should I have in order to cover what's happening in South Africa right now?
So it's important to remember that in most insurance policies, there are certain exclusions. Now, if damage stems from, for instance, a war or act of terrorism, or due to failure to maintain a premises, the damage stemming therefrom would be excluded in terms of a policy. But the position regarding rioting in South Africa is quite interesting. Now, in South Africa, businesses would have claims for the damage stemming from rioting on condition that their policies have been extended to provide for SASRIA perils. Now, SASRIA perils are basically perils stemming from rioting, and it's a public-owned insurer. So in practice, how it would happen is that your businesses would submit the claims to their insurers or brokers, and the brokers in turn would submit the claims to SASRIA for processing and paying of the claims.
Jean, let's say I'm a small business, and I stick with small businesses because I can imagine some of the bigger buildings and the bigger warehouses and companies are probably sorted. But that small business that just kind of went for that insurance just to make sure that they are covered. I mean, what leg do they have to stand on right now? Do they still have some form of protection? We've heard of, smaller restaurants, bakeries, salons that have been looted. I mean, what leg can they stand on now?
I understand you would have to have SASRIA coverage in order to be covered in instances like this. If you don't have SASRIA coverage, you would unfortunately not have a claim in instances like this. Now, but I must say in general, SASRIA coverage is provided for in most business insurance policies. So I would be very, very surprised if any business would not have such coverage. Now, it's just important to remember, in terms of this coverage, the businesses would be able to claim for damage, physical damage to the property. They would be able to claim for damage to stock or the stolen stock. Another important claim they would have is, as you can imagine, Ayanda, these businesses are not going to open again overnight. Many of them will be closed for quite a few days. So these businesses would also have claims for loss of income through the business interruption policy.
Jean, I think you've woken up many small businesses and many big businesses even perhaps getting a refresher on this, because nobody was expecting that this would be happening. Not even 2 weeks ago that something like this would have happened. Jean, thank you so much for that. That is Jean-Paul Rudd, their partner and attorney at Adams & Adams. If anything I've heard coming out of this interview is that this word SASRIA seems to have come up a few times. So make sure that is definitely in there within your policies and you are protected. Well, the entertainment industry continues to